Hi guys, if you are doing a lot of back office work for a manufacturing plant or any business, using AI to perform a lot of the tasks now is an option, and it's really good at reliably carrying out big data tasks. So in this video today, we'll take a look at Claude, which is this AI by Anthropic, and there's this tool that they provide is called Claude Cowork. So before we can get started, you would need Claude on your device. So if you're using a Mac OS, they have an app, or you can use Claude online in your browser. For this video, we'll use Claude on the Mac OS, and this is what it looks like. There's a Cowork option that you can click on, and the domain we will look at is manufacturing plant. So when there's a manufacturing plant, there's usually an ERP system that's gonna produce data of parts or the product that's being manufactured at different locations. So instead of the ERP system as our data source, we will use an Excel sheet. So let's just take a look at that. So as you can see, we have different car parts with different model numbers for different cars with different unit quantities, date created, and plant location. And then we have different cities where these are being produced. And the second piece of data that we have is a sales report of all the same parts that we just looked at that we received from our sales department. So now how do we create a daily, let's say if we want to inform leadership about what's happening at our plants on a daily basis and what our sales status is? If you were to do this manually in Excel, PowerPoint, this would be a whole day's work because there's gonna be a lot of parts, a lot of different variations of items, about permutations of like locations, part numbers, different cars that they will go into, unit pricing. Fortunately, with Claude, we will take a look at how we can automate this entire process and have a daily report created and sent to leadership. So once we come to Claude, we'll click on New Task, and we'll say Scheduled. Now, in the Scheduled, we'll say New Task, Create with Claude. You can set up manually, but that's going to be a longer process. If you just click on Create with Claude, you describe in plain English what you want, and it will create it. That Excel sheet that we saw earlier is saved in a folder, and you can have it coming from the ERP system. There are plugins that we can use to pull data directly from a database, an ERP system, whatever system you have ongoing. So here I'm gonna explain what I want. So I want to create a consolidated production and sales report for leadership to be sent at 9 a.m. Central Time every day. And here, instead of ask, we will say act without asking. There's a disclaimer. Please read that before you enable this. But in our case, we will trust the model and proceed. So I want to create a consolidated production and sales report for leadership to be sent 9 a.m. Central every day. In the email body, make sure you highlight some of the stats, create a PowerPoint, Excel sheet, and Word summary for each email based on data supplied. For the sales data, you can read the email inbox, which we haven't provided this data in an Excel sheet. It's going to go ahead and go to our email and extract that information and use that to create these materials that we have supplied. Now we do need to provide it some information about what to look for in the email. So we'll say, it will have sales report in its title. So here we'll say you can read the email inbox and find the previous day email with sales report title in it. Now for a production use case, we would provide a few more parameters like who it's going to come from. Is it going to say, like, to just to make sure we are authenticating the email and someone isn't just sending a sales report in the subject and we are just accepting that. That would be pretty bad. So we provided it information, and then I'm going to say, since we, as I mentioned, we are not connected to a system to get all the production data, we are going to provide it the location of the Microsoft Excel sheet that we have currently in this car manufacturing plant location for the manufactured parts data at the Excel sheet car manufacturing plant folder on the desktop under production _ logs. So this is a system message that we supplied to Claude, and a system message in AI is basically something that it can use again and again to refer to the context. So like a system message would be for it to set the parameters, the base parameters that never change, like I'm supposed to go to this email and find this information. I'm supposed to go to this folder and find this information. And now those Excel sheets and the data might change, but the process of going to that data is going to remain the same. So now it's going to ask to connect to your email. And I'm going to go ahead and provide access to this email inbox. And I'm going to say select all, open Claude. And now it has access. It will show you that your Gmail has connected successfully, and I'm going to allow it to use that folder. And I'm going to also say whatever materials you send in the daily email, ensure you save them in a folder called daily report. In the car manufacturing plant folder. Okay, so it's asking who should receive this report email, and now here you can supply a bunch of emails that you want. It's going to use this Gmail that we connected to send that email. So I'm going to go ahead and send this to myself. This is my email. If you would like for me to set up any of these services for you, I am available for consulting. So I'm going to supply that email, and the Gmail connector can prepare a draft but can't auto send. How should the 9 a.m. task finish? Now there is a different connector that we can use, but for this, just to not stop this demo, we will go ahead and save the files, and we will supply this. Let's do create a draft. How should production number be scoped each day? Previous day's date. Date is supplied in the Excel sheet. So it's going to use that Excel sheet as its source of truth. Now we're looking at this very specific example of just creating a snapshot of the entire process of, like, okay, this was being produced at these locations, and this is the sales report of like how much sales was performed at what location and invoice information. But it can be done if you're a law firm, and if you want to create a summary of clients and payments outstanding, or if you are an accounting firm, the same process can be applied to automate pretty much anything that you would like to automate. And we are looking at just the Gmail connector, but there's many connectors for this. So I'm going to go ahead and schedule this task, and it has created this, and I will say to run once now to test. So it asked, want me to do a test run now? yes, do a test run, and also just make sure to save all that in this folder. So we'll take a look at the test run. As I mentioned, this connector is not sending the email, but we can go ahead and browse all the connectors, and there are many other connectors that you can use, and one of them will have the ability to send emails. It says Gmail's connected now. I'll update the task to save into daily report folder, then run the full thing as a test. I'll start by finding the sales report email and inspecting the production data in parallel. So the sales report June 2nd, which is this email, was found by it successfully, and it's processing that. The email is large. Let me extract the readable body. It is a super long email. If we were to do this manually, it would take us more than a day to perform, to create all these reports, but it will take some time and it will create all these items for us. Now, if you notice on this side, we have projects. We'll just take a look at this. We can create a project and share this with our team. So if we have more team members, like if I say start from scratch, car underscore manufacturing underscore plant, instructions would be the system instructions, just to provide it some context as to what needs to stay there. I'm going to go ahead and just provide this one example file and create. Now we have this car manufacturing plant. We can take a look at the scheduled tasks. So for example, we create that scheduled task. We can add this to this project. It has access to this context. So for example, I have provided access to just this folder, but I can provide it to the main folder, which is in this scenario desktop, so it will have access to all those files. I guess I did the same one there. We can say memory, so it's going to store what information it should have. It shouldn't. Instructions is going to be helpful for it to, for example, when it's creating PowerPoints or Excel or emails, how should it act? What should be the behavior of this agent? So I'll say, please keep all communication professional, and that sets the tone and the context for this entire project. So these are the folders, and then here we can say, if you are a person who likes to make sure every step that your agent is doing is correct, you can say ask before acting, so it will just run everything by you before making changes, or you can say act without asking. Here's the model. Opus 4.8 is the newest model, and it consumes a lot of tokens. So here you can select max intelligence if you really want it to be on point and not make any errors. Let's look at where our scheduled task is. Still running the command. All data is verified and skills loaded, building the 3 deliverables now. It looked at all the information. Data's gathered sales is 15,465,000. These are the units shipped, 100 orders, and all this information is coming from our email that we supplied here. It calculated the totals and got those numbers, and now it's running these commands. So if we click on this, we can look at the code behind it. It's not needed, but it's using Python to create some of the files. Now Cowork also provides the ability to dispatch these tasks. So this is a recurring task that we are setting to run at 9 a.m. Central Time every single day. But if you were to, let's say, if you wanted to be able to control when it's run, you can, from your phone, you can have the Claude app and set this up, and you can trigger it from anywhere at any time. It doesn't have to be triggered at 9 a.m. every day. Or you can set up other non-recurring tasks that also can be run from here. Live artifacts are different dynamic artifacts that the connectors can use, and what we will do, I'll do a separate video for the connectors, because there's a lot of stuff that can be done in there. Other than that, there's just a new task, and you can chat with it, and it's going to create whatever you want in this project. Let's see. So it's saying all 3 files were built and validated, is visually QAing. So it's opening those files, making sure everything is good on those files before finalizing them. There's also this customized tab that has different plugins, and here's where you can add connectors. So connectors are supplied by different vendors. So for example, Figma, if you are a designer, you would use that. Or if you're using a CRM system, there's gonna be different CRM like HubSpot that's gonna have customer insights. I believe SAP and Oracle don't have those right now, but there's a SAP. So if you're using SAP for your ERP, that is also something that can be set up. It can access your Google Drive files, set up calendar events for you if you would like to set up meetings on an autonomous way. So this is something to explore. And then skills. So for example, this agent that we just created, the scheduled task, is very general. But if you want your agent to be very specific, like you want it to be a sales agent that is creating reports based on a sales skill for customers, you can provide this type of context of what it should know. It's almost like picking out a resume for the agent, and it will adhere to those specific instructions from this. And Anthropic provides this. There are custom skills that can be also set up. Let's go back to this, and we'll say yes, we accept the update task. So it created the sales report. Here we are. So it's daily production and sales report. It set the date, prepare for executive leadership, and it's gonna provide, again, all this can be customized. As we talked about the context, we can say, okay, we don't want it by different cities, we want it by states, and it will accept that. Now this is the Word document. Let's take a look at the PowerPoint. So it created this PowerPoint slide that is providing pretty much the same information as the Word document, and it's only a few slides, but if we provide instructions for it to go into different segments, different car models, or a specific part that's too much in demand, we can ask it to create those different metrics. So that's our PowerPoint, and we saw the Word doc, and this is our Excel sheet, which is gonna have sales information, and this is a high-level more detailed sheet that we had. So guys, that's the video. This is all. It has also created this as a draft here. So if you were to go to the draft, you will see that it has set up this draft, daily production sales report. It has this information that's provided. It hasn't attached these, but that's something that we would have to fine tune and debug, just to ensure that this is attached to the email. It can also upload this to the drive if you want to store this. And if you look at daily report, it has labeled it and stored these items. So we can design pretty much any workflow that's needed for this. I hope you guys try this. This is super cool, and it can see this, and I hope you guys enjoy.